And now that we're finally starting to have some sunny spring days, or close to sunny spring days here in Nebraska, you may be wondering if these recent cold snaps have done anything to kill some of the diseases that may be bothering our gardens every year. Unfortunately, the answer for that is not really. Most of our fungal diseases and bacterial diseases, we actually store them at minus 80 degrees Celsius, so about negative 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So needless to say, many of these pathogens are able to survive Nebraska winters just fine. So you may be wondering, where do they go during the winter? Well, a lot of these pathogens will form special survival structures, whether they are sclerotia, fungi that form sclerotia, which are these darkened spores that are a little bit larger than normal, and they'll just reside in soil for years. Or we have some bacteria that produce some specialized spores as well, such as endospores. Now, some of these fungi need to be beneath soil in order to survive the winter, such as Phytophthora, which causes late blight of potatoes and tomatoes. That actually stays in the soil on infected tissue in the underground. Compare that to Alternaria leaf blight of tomatoes, and those that resides just on leaves, right on the soil surface. And so this is why fall sanitation or even early spring sanitation is so important to control diseases within a garden. By removing a lot of this old dead tissue, or any tissue that you saw disease last year, we're now able to remove that from the area completely. And maybe there will still be a few leaves that have a few small spots, but we really want to get rid of as many of them as possible. The other thing that's really important as far as controlling diseases as we get into the summer is we want to look out for our weedy hosts. And so our virus diseases, a lot of them can actually survive on some of the weedy hosts that may be common around our garden, whether it's lamb's quarter or field pennycress. And so a lot of these fungal pathogens, they get really cold, they survive the cold temperatures, but as soon as we start to get nicer days like this and a little bit of moisture out there, well, now those fungi and bacteria are able to wake back up, and they can start to colonize any plant tissue that's still there. Maybe it's roots that are left over from last year, or maybe you went ahead and planted something early this year. Well, days like this, even though it's still technically beneath these pathogens' optimal temperature range, they can still become active and start to cause infection. In conclusion, it's really important to clean up your garden at the end of the fall or early in the spring before we start getting nicer weather like this. While we may go ahead and pull out the above ground parts of all of the plants, it's also important to remember to try to get rid of as much of the root tissue as possible, because a lot of our soil-borne pathogens are residing there.